I got into homebrewing from initially just my love of craft beer, and I had a friend who homebrewed and got me into it and really fell in love. I think as much as any young man gets into beer, and then you realize the nuances and styles and varieties from all over the world, you find styles that are really special to you. But I would say that was a big part of getting into beer itself, was first getting into the flavor and background on a lot of styles of beers. I tell a lot of people often I wish I could kind of get those first tastes back. Even to have my first brown ale again would be really cool.
For Father's Day, instead of getting my dad something cool like a tie or socks, he and I decided we'd go 50-50 on a homebrew setup. Got a kit online of pots and a chiller and ingredients, this, that, and the other thing. And for Father's Day, my dad and I made our first double IPA.
So I got into home brewing back in 2009 when my wife and I were shopping at Target, and she spotted a Mr. Beer kit. And at the time, my kids were in college and had started drinking beer, and we thought that the Mr. Beer kit would be a lot of fun for the kids to do together over winter break. We got the Mr. Beer kit and brought it home and did a couple of batches with the kids, and I became really intrigued with the process. So this makes 2 gallons. Each of our batches now make almost 500 gallons. So I did about 3 different batches with this, and then started doing 5-gallon batches. And then I started building a brewing system to do 15 gallons and 25 gallons and then 30 gallons at a time. Anyway, so this is the Mr. Beer kit that started it all. So yeah, it comes with malt extract in a can that you heat. You add to water, you boil it, and then you cool it like in a sink full of ice, and then you pour it into here and add yeast. Okay. That was the concept. She's so covered with dirt, they were just wrestling in the mud. You just don't want anybody to pay attention to Molly, do you? I wasn't even a beer drinker. I just got interested in the process and started researching online and looking at YouTube videos, and kind of occupied all my free moments of the day researching processes of making beer and experimenting with it. And after about a year of home brewing, I joined Kansas City Beer Meisters, the oldest homebrew club in the Kansas City area. The first place. There's the 43. That was the first place for a Berliner Weiss. But the 41 that didn't place, but it went to the Mini Boss, which is a mini best of show. And that's for a Berliner Weiss. I started entering homebrew competitions. I remember the first time I entered, I was thinking about entering. I really didn't know a lot about beer at the time, but I remember having a conversation with my son, and he said, "Dad, remember that beer that we brewed over Thanksgiving?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, Dad, that's a Saison, so enter it as a Saison." So I entered it and got first place, and it was really exciting. I got to stand up and people applauded, and I kind of enjoyed that. Best of show, got a big thing in Castle Rock, Colorado. Which one is this big one? This doesn't say. Most of these say what they are. Fruit beers. So I did a lot of Saisons that I added fruit to, and a lot of sour beers that I added fruit to. When I was in manufacturing, everything that I manufactured was through a distributor. Someone else took all the credit for it, and in reality took most of the margin for it too. But when I got into home brewing and winning competitions, I was actually doing something that I could put an effort into and actually get some feedback for it, and saw that people appreciated it, and I got credit for it. So this was my lab area here. It's just, I mean, it's not what it was before. I had tons of other stuff in here. I think it's human nature that we all want to, if you put effort in something, I think we all want to say, hey, you did a good job. That's cool. I think was meaningful to me, and it made me want to pursue it more. And I got really obsessed with the whole process of entering competitions, and kind of really, for the first time in my life, strived for a little recognition that I had been missing in my previous manufacturing days.
Walking down the street with my pockets fully, hey. I gave my money to the man, gotta make him understand. Eyes on the ground, cause I ain't that kind of proud. I never talk too loud, I need to focus now.
When I first started considering opening a brewery, I reached out to anyone and everyone I could. That kind of made me fall in love with the industry, first and foremost. Most businesses, you say, hey, I like what you do, I want to do it too, and they say, good luck, go figure it out on your own. Brewing industry, every brewer, every business owner I talked to said, come down, have a beer, let's see what we can do to help you. Along that way, one of the people that I'd heard about was Michael Crane. As a home brewer, he did a lot of Belgian farmhouse ales and sours. He'd won a lot of medals in a very short amount of time, so I knew he had recipes and that these were things he was interested in.
There was a story written about me in Star Magazine. Chris had been planning to start a brewery with some other friends, and when he saw the article that was written about me, reached out to me and contacted me. I remember the phone call. It was like, are you the home brewer that was in the paper? And I said, yes.
When I first reached out to him, he had a business of his own, but he wanted to be involved however he could. And in that short amount of time, things kind of changed in my life and his life.
Around the same time, I found out that one of my largest customers was going to have product knocked off and made in China. So to make a long story short, we decided to start the brewery together, started putting together a business plan, and we were brewing beer all throughout 2014, going to beer festivals and fundraising events, raising the awareness also of the kind of beers that we were all passionate about. And started building the brewery in 2015, and end of 2015 started distributing beer, and a year later we built the tap room. It was just the right time in my life, and it worked out to be really beneficial having Chris reach out to me and start this together as partners. So why Belgian-style sours and Belgian farmhouse ales? I would like to, talk about my passion for those beers, but that would be a lie. Actually, I enjoyed brewing those beers, and primarily it's because those were styles that my younger son, Joey, was passionate about. Don't tell anybody, but although I do like a lot of beers, sour beers are not my favorite style to drink. I will definitely want to taste sour beers. I want to taste all the beers, but I really prefer a sessionable IPA with a nice hop character.
We started out with a main focus of Belgian-style farmhouse ales, sour ales, wild fermented beers. That was something that was really special to us, something that we all enjoyed brewing and sharing. Since then, we've kind of grown, and we have added quite a bit more to our catalog as far as styles that we share and what we make on a year-round basis. But those are still pretty special to us, and we enjoy making them whenever we can. Something special about our beers, most breweries that do some kind of sour style ale, they do what's called a quick sour or kettle sour. At some point they let the beer, they pasteurize it or boil it, so that way that kills the bacteria. We've always been crazy, and we haven't found too many breweries who don't think that we are. But we leave the bacteria alive throughout the process. We pitch the bacteria into our fermenters. For us, it's a little bit more traditional that way. We think it creates something that's a little bit more shelf stable. and it allows the beer to somewhat still develop in the keg and the bottle even after packaging.
So it's something that Michael Crane kind of did just on his own home brewing, and we kind of decided to keep that ethos, I guess, of having live cultures, live yeast and bacteria in the beer, to, it's good for you. You drink our beer and it's good for you.
Gotta hold on me. Gotta hold on me. Gotta hold on me. Gotta hold on me.
So I had been home brewing for a little while and was talking to my son, who's a vegetarian. One day, I just for whatever reason, I asked him what he was fixing for dinner, and he said beets and beet greens. Then he said, "Dad, why don't you put beets in beer?" And I thought, well, at the time I was brewing about 15 gallons every week, so I took 5 gallons and racked it on top of some beets that I had sliced and boiled, and it was kind of cool because it starts fermenting again because of all those sugars. And so I, after it fermented and I packaged it and bottled it, I was talking to my son again. I said, "Joey, I made the beet beer." And he said, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Joey, you said put beets in beer." And he said, "Dad, that's gross." I was kidding. But it turned out to be really a great beer. I entered it in homebrew competitions and won a bunch of medals. And it was something that our team with the brewery got real excited about. And it's a beer that we release every year in the fall.
It's something that we work with a produce supplier that helps us with the beets. They come in diced and peeled and diced, but it's still a matter of getting that amount of beets into a tank. We have to soften them with boiling water to be able to pump them into our tank, and it's a full day, if not multiple day process. So it's a beer we love making. Beet Weiss is a very special beer, but there's a reason we only make it once a year.
For me, on a production level, it's the biggest hassle to make. Like, the beer that is the biggest pain. We put 700 pounds of beets into a 900-gallon batch of beer. It's a process that takes 2 or 3 days to get all of the beets into the fermenter. All of those beets settle down to the bottom, and the little arm inside of the tank that you draw all the liquid out of the fermenter from is buried beneath a level of beet chunks. So you just kind of have to transfer the beer low and slow. After all of that, you get to try to get 700 pounds of chunks of beet out of the fermenter, which is its own task, and shoveling all those into bins for the farmer to take away. It's a lot of lifting. It's a lot to do. But that all being said, it's one of the most unique, crazy, like, what in the hell beers that I've had. It put Michael Crane on the map as a home brewer. It's kept us relevant in a number of circumstances, whether it be Men's Health rated us like best beer in Missouri or something like that. Numerous accolades from this weird ass beer that there's no way that we can't make it, even if I hated the process and it took way more hours to get done than any other beer reasonably should. I wouldn't say no to making Beet Weiss. I mean, who the hell else makes sour beet beer? Like, how can we not do that?
Spirit Jesus, you're frozen in time, and I love you. Yeah, I do, and I love
We've been really fortunate as a business that we've gotten a lot of support, and so we always have felt that if people are going to support us, we should do whatever we can to give back. So whether it's nonprofit organizations, we partner with several hundred throughout the year, whether it's auction items or they need beer for an event, or we let them use our tap room to host an event in. But we also believe in supporting other businesses who are trying to do really great things in the community. Two of those are Heart Barbecue and Quinto Coffee. So we've allowed them both to kind of set up shop in our brewery. The tap room has always been set up for service, and we don't usually open up except for bar hours. And so we reached out to Quinto because we were buying cold brew from them to say, hey, you guys don't have an actual cafe yet. How about you use our space while we're not open to kind of get things going, get started. And we've kind of done the same thing with Heart Barbecue. He's one of the best barbecue, pit masters I've ever met, Tyler Harp. And he was looking at kind of doing his own thing, and we had a space that he could come in and do a pop-ups on Saturdays. He starts serving at 11 a.m. and sells out by 2 p.m. every Saturday, and it's amazing. A lot of people ask us what the significance of the origami on our labels is. It's something that we worked with our initial graphic artist on. Origami is a very old art form, a lot of hand detail work in folding that art. People would get to know each other, use it like an icebreaker, teach each other different ways of folding origami, and that's how we like to think of beer. Especially the styles we do, they're very old styles, but they allow people to kind of come together and make friends. So this year, Touring Taps are friends of ours. They've got the only mobile tavern license in the Casey area, and they go around town and work events all the time, sharing craft beer. And as an in-kind sponsor, they let us use their van. So they've retrofitted this thing. It's completely shelled out, insulated. They've got 3 different air conditioners, and so basically it works as like a mobile cooler, so we can pour beer today at the festival. Awesome.
Y'all, we here at Lost Township. It is raining, it is some bullshit, but guess what though? We having a good time. Yeah. We're loving it. Half the people backed out because they were scared of melting the rain. I'm the only person melting the rain because I'm chocolate. So on that note, cheers y'all. Let's do it.
Michael was not available today, so we're having this fat bald guy sit in for him.
Yeah. So, okay.
Oh, the beat vice. Beats me.
So how much do you really hate Chris?
Chris is generally the biggest pain in the ass I've ever met in my life. I'm constantly yelling at him and telling him how he should get his shit together so he could organize a decent beer festival instead of having all these people come from all over the country and getting fucking drunk.
Use that. Oh, man.